Dave, we've done a few of these interviews over the years, during some good times and let's just say some more challenging times, but this is the first interview we've done together with a trophy, the Scottish Cup, in the boardroom, sitting next to me. Just how does that feel? Is it sunk in yet?
Oh yes, yeah, no, it's obviously sunk in, and I just, as I've said a number of times, just delighted for all us supporters. It's 35 years, a long time, and some old guys like me and you, Mal, although you're younger than me, remember the good days, right? And over the last 50 years, 60 years for me, seen it all, in Gothenburg, and but 35 years, that's a fair chunk of our Aberdeen supporters. The average age of somebody attending a match now at Pittodrie is 35. So too long, but just a wonderful occasion, and reward for a tremendous amount of hard work by so many people like you guys at the club over so many decades. So for me, it's about putting a smile on the face of our city through the club and the community trust. And that's just, listen, I said this a number of times. I thought Saturday couldn't be topped, but Sunday, when you saw 100,000 plus people downtown, it kind of sunk in then what the club means to the city and the power of football and the club in the city for doing good.
Well, Dave, listen, we'll look ahead in a minute and look ahead at how we're going to make sure it's not another 35 years we have to wait for the Scottish Cup. But just let's look back at a magical weekend. As you say, it was the weekend, the Saturday and the Sunday. What's your memories from the game? What was your sort of emotions and feelings during the game and the penalty shootout?
Well, obviously, before the game, nobody gave us a chance, right? Right, left and centre. And listen, we've been on the wrong end of some bad losses. The Celtic. We also had the 2-2 game that was led really well earlier in the season, and it was very close at Pittodrie when they beat us 1-0. It was an excellent game. But in building up to, the emotions for me were, I was actually, and I said this to a number of people, fairly confident during the week that we could absolutely give them a game. And you know what? I kind of felt building up to it was, well, even at Hampden, having lunch with SFA people and so on and so forth. I kind of felt myself that as it went on, I thought, if we can hold this tight here, we've got a real opportunity. And look, our season, a game against Dundee United, that last game of the season, was our season in 90 minutes. 35 minutes, 40 minutes into the game, phenomenal. Should have been up 3-0, and then we lose the game. So I think the feeling I had, this is just personally, is that I felt that if we could put a shift in for 90, and it turned out to be 120 minutes, that we could do something. And so it transpired. As the game, it went through the game, Neil Doncaster was sitting behind me, and it got to extra time, and he tapped me in the shoulder and he just said, "I don't know how you are so calm but this." And I said, well, it'll be what it'll be. The players are giving their absolute best today. Our supporters, unbelievable. What an incredible support we've got now. In the last few years, credit to everybody at the club. We've invested significantly in fact, a lot of the game, I was watching our fans. Unbelievable. The whole game, 120 minutes and after, and that's something we've worked really hard at in the last 6, 7, 8 years, fan engagement, and everyone at the club's bought into it. And average age of somebody coming to Pittodrie now is about 35, 36, as opposed to 47, 48. And that's not because old guys like us are not going any longer. It's the younger guys. So, and I'm so glad that we just said, who do we write the check to for the 20,000 plus tickets? Because we sold them, as you know, in a few hours. So kind of mixed emotions, but I'm, as the older you get, you try and learn not to be too high when things go fantastically well, and too low. You've got to keep a calmness about yourself, because if you don't keep a calmness about yourself, right, then who else will round about you? So I had a strong feeling that we would do well and that we'd win it. And so yeah, I know how you feel, but it's like I almost feel like I floated on a cloud going through the game. It was almost surreal as well. And I kept looking over to the fans, and as I say, being an old beach end boy myself, I mean, current group of fans and the noise we make and the experience we got now is phenomenal, even compared to the old beach end days.
But Dave, I think you're right to mention the fans, because yes, the players were absolutely brilliant, every single one of them, but the fans played a massive part as well, and the players have said that to me. I mean, it was a couple of times, for example, extra time when the guys are out on their feet, I think we won a throw-in up the pitch and the place erupted, I mean, they have to understand the lift that gave the players on that. I mean, I just thought they were absolutely brilliant all day.
Yeah, look, yeah, I mean, the fact that you sell those tickets out in 7 or 8 hours, Kevin, our CFO, kept him happy because we were told the reason we can't just give you them is we don't believe you're going to sell them. So, you know what, me, I love a challenge, So, but no, the fans. Look, listen. At the end of the day, it's our club as fans. It's not my club. I'm a custodian here in a fortunate position of being able to try and and drive the club and put some investment in, and it's just like some of the things that we do with the charities my wife and I are involved in. When you see the good it does, it's so rewarding, and again, I'm just so pleased for the city, the Northeast, and all our supporters. Been too long.
But Dave, like many of the fans who were in the stand, they were, who were with family members, and also RedTV viewers around the world who were, celebrating with their family. They saw you at the end celebrating with your family after the penalty shootout. I mean, that must have been a very, very special moment for you, because I mean, I know how much you're very much a family first person, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, not all the family could come over because Craig, my son, his wife's family had a wedding in Ohio, and so his kids and Pam went there. My daughter Sarah couldn't come over, but there were 7 of us came over, plus obviously we got a ton of family in Aberdeen. So right next to where we were in the lounge we were in, we had, I think, another 13 family members kind of in there, my cousin and brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws. And so, no, look, it was just, what was really enjoyable family-wise was really the next day, right? Because the rest of the Saturday went by in a flash. And so, I was able to, my 95-year-old mother-in-law that goes to all the home games, she loves her sandwiches and her pie and a cup of tea. So on the Sunday after we had the parade, a number of us went back to the club, as club and staff and all the family members got together. And, I kind of walked around there, and I was looking over at the family table and seeing Barbara, my mother-in-law, just with a smile on her face and eating away at, munching away at the at the goodies that are there. And so, no, I think it was a phenomenal Sunday and a Saturday. So many families that were there. And again, it didn't really strike me until maybe a number of days later, that's 35 years winning the Scottish Cup. That's a couple of generations almost.
Yeah, absolutely. You then made your way down pitch side. I think I was the first one to see you. And then you went on. What did you say to Jimmy? What was the first thing you said to him?
Well, I was kind of in two kind of minds going down or that, and Alan kind of encouraged me. I went down to really thank the players. You get to know the guys, a lot of the guys you do, right, over time, Jimmy, and so many people there that have worked hard over this last period, and then also just to thank the fans. So, well, with Jimmy, we just give each other a big hug, and I thanked him. I said, thank you, Jimmy. What an incredible end to the season, and let's use this as a platform to push on.
Dave, just give us an insight what's it like to work with Jimmy. And I mean, I must add, you were the one who along with the board as well, but you were absolutely determined to get him, weren't you? And with any managerial appointment, there's always challenges, isn't there? But you just never gave up. You said, no, this is a guy, this is who we want. So just give us a wee insight into this. What's it like working with Jimmy?
Well, he is he's a very smart guy, a bright guy. He is he's somebody, like a typical Scandinavian, cool, calm, kind of collected. He's got a lot of experience. 14 years he had in Sweden with 2 teams, right? The last 6 with Elfsborg. And he's one of these guys that he had opportunities to go to the English Championship and turned them down, where I'm sure the wages and the salary and all the rest of it would have been much, much higher, because we know what English Championship clubs pay managers. But he was looking for his first, let's call it project overseas, away from Sweden. He'd done Sweden for a long time, and he wanted it to be the right project. So that for me is there's an element of he's here for the right reasons, right? He's not a job hopper. Now, as Jimmy continues with Aberdeen, there's always going to be challenges keeping a successful manager. But I don't think there'll be any surprises with Jimmy. He is very team oriented, inclusive. It's about the team. It's not about him. And his standards are exceptionally high. So personable, have a laugh with him, and he's for me anyway. I'm quite a curious person, as you know. I've studied Scandinavian football and European football, but why are teams doing so well in Scandinavia on player trading and so on? And he's a really interesting guy, very interesting guy in terms of the process he goes about running a football club, and as you know, as a manager. But the key thing for me is that he's a very clear view on how he wants to play. Now, listen, we played every game this season one style, apart from that kind of last game. So, can it be interesting to see how that evolves with this season? But look, at the end of the day, as I'm regularly told by fans over the years, going through the tough times, that it doesn't matter how well we're doing off the field, and we've done exceptionally well. All that matters is putting a trophy in the cabinet. It's really difficult to do it with the competition that's there, but we've done it, and onwards and upwards.
Just the final thing, Jimmy, must say, I mean, it's a long-term project. I mean, well, he said that from day one. It's going to take a number of years. So he's only had one season. I'm sure he's learned an awful lot from his one season. But, he still needs another transfer window, maybe another 2 transfer windows to get the players in, as you say, to play the style of football he wants. But it's exciting, Dave, isn't it, to see what he's going to try and achieve over the next couple of years.
Yeah, listen, one thing is that I love the term, we might be wrong, but we won't be confused. So there's a clear plan of what you do, and he's very clear on that. I also like the term, if we're going to fail, let's fail fast and learn quickly, right? And so I think that's his kind of mantra to a degree as well. But to play the type of football he wants to play, a high intensity, we've still got a good bit of work to do on the squad. and that includes seeing what we can get out of the existing squad of players that are there, because you can't just say, okay, we'll take these 24 and move them on and bring in 24 players, right? And so, but the other thing that's important about Jimmy, I've learned, is this: he's not a shouter and a baller at the side of the field. And the reason behind that is he doesn't believe that, he believes is, if he has to cajole and push and drive players to be the best they can be, he's not got the right players. They have to want to come to the well and drink and be the best professionals that they can be. And that's tough at times, when things aren't necessarily going so well, and you might be tempted to kind of shout and bawl, but his standards are really high, and that's the expectation he's got.
Having worked with him for a year, I have to say his man management is absolutely superb, and people shouldn't confuse the fact, okay, he's not a shouter and a baller, as somebody, away from the pitch. He'll tell guys if he's not happy as well, but he's a very determined character, and I think a fantastic manager. Listen, I don't want to go through everybody, but I think there's one person who also deserves a special mention, and that's Graeme Shinnie. Who will, rightly take his place in the club's history. I think he's an exceptional captain and a person as well. But again, Dave, you were instrumental in bringing Graeme back to the club, weren't you? Just tell me a wee bit about your relationship with Graeme.
Yeah, well, obviously I got to know Graeme when I first got back involved with the club at 8 years past the 17th of June. And obviously Graeme then was, I think, in his last year or so of his contract, and went to Derby, but built up a decent relationship with Graeme. And when he left Aberdeen, I stayed in touch with him. Not a lot, but every few months I'd ping him and ask him how he was doing and how his family was doing and stuff. So when it came round to the opportunity to bring him, or potentially bring him back to the club in that winter window, I think we were in a good position. He wanted to come back anyway. He wanted to be back at Aberdeen toward the end of his career, and so was just delighted to make that happen. And listen, a lot of people will write Graeme off, right? He got a yellow card unfairly, in my opinion, anyway, at fairly early in the game, relatively speaking, the cup final, and I'm thinking, you're going to have to be awful careful. And he was the guy running up and down the field in the 120th minute. And look at the penalty he took. I don't know where that came from, right? But no, he is Mr. Aberdeen on that pitch.
No, absolutely. No, he's just a leader. But I think what people don't see is how he sort of, what he's like off the pitch, and the way he's in charge of the dressing room and the players and everybody. He's just a fantastic guy. I'm just so pleased with him. Right, Dave, you mentioned the squad. Just start with, in terms of squad planning, where would you say we are at the moment?
Yeah, so obviously the window is open, less than a couple of weeks or what have you. I think the important thing here is for Aberdeen Football Club is for us to be disciplined in the decisions we make and bringing players in. It's there's a lot of competition for the same players, particularly young players in Scotland, and we just need to be disciplined, because with this player training approach, we're making a decision to lose 3 or 4 million operationally a year as a club. To do that, you need to balance out with, if we're going to spend that more on wages, which will help us, for example, or transfer fees, then the player trading model is important, for the club. So the team that's in place now with Nuno, head of recruitment, we've got probably doubled our scouting now. We've got full-time scouts that are in Scandinavia and in Southern Europe, working with Nuno. And we are feverishly working through, or they are feverishly working through groups of players that we believe can fit the key roles that Jimmy's still looking to fill the rest of the season. We've obviously got existing players on staff as well. We'd ended up with the loan players with I think close to pretty much 30 professionals and the first team squad at the end of the season. So it really is a case of trying to be patient and allowing these guys to get on with their work. And Mal, I'm not that patient, a person at times, and so I've got to be careful not to. I'm trying to chew Alan's ear out about it rather than calling Stephen Gunn and asking what's going on.
But David, do you think we've got the recruitment process right? Because some people have questioned it. A lot of project players, but I think just to emphasise the point you made about the Scottish players. Trying to sign Scottish players are extremely difficult, isn't it? So do these guys offer better value for money as the foreign players?
Yeah, well, look, it's just like anybody running a business or running their household. If you can get the same product or service for half the price, right, then you're not going to spend double, right? The Scottish market has become very difficult. You've seen obviously Luke Cowan go into Celtic, Cameron going to Rangers, and so the demands, and it's a supply and demand market for young Scottish players with potential that are in their early 20s. The ask is significant because they got opportunities potentially in the Championship in England or a top kind of Division 1 club in England, and where the wages there are significant. But that's why we've got a squad planning and a recruitment team in place now, I think, that will stand us in good stead. Look, everyone's talking about these analytics and algorithms that everybody's using. We've been using those for 5-6 years, right? Miovski, Ramadani, numbers of players that have come through that we've tapped into. There's a reason why we paid $1 million for Topi Keskinen, right? And if you saw Topi at the European Championships there, right, played every minute of every game, scored a couple of goals. So listen, you're never going to get recruitment 100% right. And the industry average has been about 50%, right? That needs to be 70 to 80% for Aberdeen. And that's what we're trying to drive down on.
A word on Jack Milne. How good was he in the final? Just a local boy, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant. The poor guy, he's had to be very patient, Jack, very patient. It's not so easy being a defender because you're not just going to get so much game time, maybe as a young striker or winger or something that can be thrown on at the end of a game, but he was absolutely superb, wasn't he?
He was unbelievable, and he's had to be patient. Listen, I think that if I listen to Jimmy and the guys, at the beginning of last season, right, Jack still had a lot to do in his game to be competitive in this league, right? In terms of strength, aggression, and being competitive. And then he had that injury, which put him out for a few months, right? Which really didn't help. But he's bid his time, and I remember he played the game against Eintracht Frankfurt. Mm-hmm. Remember? The second game, I think he started that game back at Pataudry. Did really well. And he was outstanding in the cup final. So pleased for him. I don't know if this has got out yet. There's a wee story about he had that boombox. I think everybody saw him on the Sunday, right, on the bus. And, so as it turned out, I was walking up the stairs, the townhouse, hundreds of years old, historic building. He's got this boombox on his shoulder, halfway up the spiral staircase, right? So I shouted, Jack, please, you're about to meet the Lord Provost. Will you just switch it off and put it down? So that was a wee bit of a kind of laugh that was there. But yeah, Jack has got tremendous potential, and let's hope he kicks on from here.
Yeah. Let's hope Jack and a few of the other young boys, who, the guys like Dylan and Finlay and Adam, who were out in Lone Cove last year, did very well. Maybe get a wee chance this year as well. Dave, let's talk a wee bit about investment, because I believe that you're away to put another £8 million into the club. Can you just explain it, which I think brings the spending up to, I think, over 25 million for yourself and the other American investors. Just explain a wee bit where that money will be going.
Well, first of all, it's not all my money. About half of it is mine, Tom Crotty, significant investment, Roger Lee, and some of our friends. So it's a team, a group effort, and the investment is really principally for us at Cormack Park to get planning permission and to build an indoor training facility. As we look at the pavilion, we have the girls' academy and the women's team. We need to address that as well as some stuff at Pataudry we'd like to do. And so the principle of the 8 million, most of that's going to go towards the capital side, but we'll keep 2 to 3 million aside of that operationally for just operational cash flow as we kind of see fit. Because, if there are opportunities, for example, for us to acquire a young player that we think will be another Topi, for example, then I don't want us to be short of being able to do that. So that's really the rationale behind, because we all know that Westhill's got its own microclimate out there, and in the winter we probably need an indoor pitch, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay, but just on that, I mean, I'm sure the one question the fans, obviously understandably at this time of year, want to know just how much money will the manager have, how many players are coming in. But it's difficult to say, isn't it? We can't say, well, this will be exactly the number of players, because as you say, somebody might come up and you think this is a great investment, on top of the players that you might have wanted to sign anyway.
Yeah, so look, we had a large squad. The loan players have gone off, right? Jack McKenzie, and we wish Jack the best. It was so nice to see Jack come down the stairs with the Scottish Cup and win the Scottish Cup as well. And we obviously wish Jack the best. But I had said, a few weeks ago, I thought that we'd be looking at bringing in 7 or 8 players, and it's got to kind of be quality. So we need to try and kind of balance out, make sure we've got a nimble squad that's there. But listen, at this stage, it's difficult to say. But and again, I think at times people think I buy the players and do buy the player, pick a team, and the rest of it. I'm just the recipient of what these guys do, and so. But I would think another 3 or 4 players are likely to come in, and we're also going to give opportunity, principally at the training camp from this weekend in Portugal, to some of the younger boys to demonstrate what we think they can do. But we've made some good signings already.
Dave, just group stage of European football next year, first of all, how much is that worth to the club? And also, does that change, because we've got the group stages, does that change the thinking of the players we may be looking at?
Well, listen, I think it's no secret that Hearts and ourselves kind of struggled in the league with European group stage football, and the competitiveness of the Scottish League, and so we need to be able to compete on both fronts, right? And so that requires obviously a strong squad of players, but it also requires rotation as well. And the last time round in Europe, we continued, I think, to play an awful lot of the same players, 3 games a week, and that might have been due to just the overall squad. But I think rotation is going to be important, within that. Now, as far as the and again, that's coming from Jimmy and the football guys. So just as far as the group stage revenue goes, we've got the playoff round for the Europa League proper. That, because there's 2 extra games, and because it's the Europa League versus the Conference League, if we can get through that round there, that will be worth gross about another 2 to 3 million on top of 5.5 million of income from the Europa League, Conference League itself. But what people need to remember is that there's a significant cost to that, right? So the chances are we'll make about a 2.5 or 3 million margin on the Europa League, Conference League itself, because you've got private jets to get. You can't, fly to Timbuktu or commercially, right, for a European game and then get back on Saturday morning and play Sunday, right? So there's bonuses, there's all that stuff that kind of goes with that. But clearly, it's income that is very helpful with the club's planning.
Just Dave, we're going to look more generally at some questions in a minute, but just final on the football side of things and the money. We're looking at other clubs this summer. There's quite a lot of investment coming in to Scottish football. So Hibs and Hearts, Dundee United back in the top 6. Is that a worry to you, or is that a challenge?
Oh, it's never a worry. It's a challenge. I think it's good to have competition. Clearly, this kind of multi-club environment where a significant percentage of Hearts are owned by another club as owners, and similarly with Hibernian. That's an approach that these guys have taken there. But I don't really personally worry too much about what other clubs, are doing. It's important for us to focus on the strategy that we've got as a club. And listen, I think as far as Aberdeen's concerned, in the last 5 years, I think we've managed to sell about just over 20 million pounds worth of players. That's significant income for us. Clearly, the balance is balancing that with being competitive. And that's where, as Americans say, the rubber meets the road. But we want to be competitive. By the same token, I don't want to, listen, if I fall under a bus and my family and others don't want to pick up and help drive the club, I don't want to leave the club in a poor financial position. It's got to stand on its own 2 feet. And what we've got today is this player trading environment that is allowing us to punch above our weight in terms of recruiting and with player wages. So listen, the competition is good and healthy. What we just have to do is get on with what we're doing. To use Jimmy's phrase, to stay humble, and let's see where that takes us on 4 fronts next year.
Dave, as well as the revenue that's coming from player sales, it's been a record period off the field as well, with the sellouts, number of sellouts we had last year, taking 20,000 fans to Hampden, with it seen record shirt sales, a massive increase in revenue. Just a wee bit about how that's been achieved off the field.
Well, it goes back to 8 years. And first got back involved with the club as a director. Stuart asked me if I would really focus on the commercial side, and I had the time to do it. And we've made a number of changes kind of over the years. Listen, I remember, Mal, you were there when I first presented to the group, and I think there's a number of people there swallowed hard about. But what I said to people was, we'll try things. So like the Aberdeen program, right? That is critical, right? Critical to what we're doing as a club today. And off of that, we're investing in the Aberdeen Free program, where there's close to 12,000 primary school kids mostly are free members of the club. And that's really helping us. So there's a clear strategy commercially. Record season ticket sales this year. Average fan buying a season ticket coming to walk up is down from 47, 48 years old to 35, 36 years old. That's fans of the future, right? Because once you get them young, you typically get them for life, I think we've got programs that are there, such as the Red Shed, the ultra guys that are there, the family side. We're appealing, I believe, to a broader group of people to come and make an experience. We've significantly upgraded the quality of our hospitality in terms of the food and beverage kind of provided, but also we've upgraded the lounges as well at Pittodrie, and continue to do so. So for me, it should be about an experience, and it's about fans wanting to belong to the club and be part of this. Listen, if you go back, you go back 15 years or so, with 8,000 crowds. I remember coming over in 2000, when it was 2008 or round about then, that time, where there was 8,000 people there for a Hearts game at Pittodrie, and so we're not going to rest on our laurels, because as much as we've got, maybe, I don't know, about 25% of the primary school kids in Aberdeenshire as members, we want 50%. And we want to keep driving and making it compelling for these kids to support Aberdeen and to be there. And listen, even the stand, right? The main stand, right? And I never went to the main stand till I was about 41, right? Never been in it, other than I played in the Schools Cup final in 1975, where Harlow beat Kincorth and I scored in the beach end. I had to get that one in. But, the stands singing these days, the whole kind of four sides. And we all remember Aberdeen being accused of the sweetie paper rustling going on. So I love it. I mean, that for me is all about progress. Of course, what we've needed to do is match that on the field with performance. It's a lot more competitive these days, as we know, the football market. But I'm reminded that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Although I'm glad we sprinted at Hampden that day.
Absolutely. But Dave, you mentioned the Aberdeen scheme, and for all you've achieved in business and obviously in football now as well, with the Scottish Cup sitting here, but where does the Aberdeen junior scheme rank in level of importance to you personally? I mean, you seem very proud, rightly very proud of what's been achieved there.
Well, there were two aims of it. One was to give supporters an opportunity to help us acquire or develop academy players. So that money, for example, a chunk of that money, right, went towards getting Topi Keskinen as a young player, right, and bringing academy players through as well. Because look, we can't just look at the northeast of Scotland, right? That's an addressable market. It's a small market overall, but there's quality there, and we'll continue to focus on that. But we have to look elsewhere. If we look back to the Gothenburg days, right, where Miller, McLeish, all these guys late, and they all came from the Central Belt. So part of our focus on unearthing younger players is to look elsewhere and bring those in. And the Aberdeen money is critical for that. Clearly, we give people free shirt or included in that, discounts off of other stuff, etc. But it's been critical. And you know what? There were a lot. You were there at the time. There were a lot of naysayers when we said we'd launch it. We launched it actually, right? We actually launched it before we played Burnley in the Europa, on the UEFA League or Europa League, whatever it was then. And I had people doubting. I said, listen, guys, if this thing fails, I'm in there too. But I've had this in my mind for 15 years for two reasons. One, to help give the club maybe a more income towards the youth side, for example, but as a fan engagement, fans of the future. I mean, can you imagine these kids that are Aberdeen junior free kids coming through the front door at Pittodrie, walking along the corridor, into the dressing room, sitting where maybe their heroes are, then going into the media room and signing for the Dons, photo shoot, video with their parents, siblings, and maybe grandparents there. It's just a phenomenal experience. And it's getting Stephen McCormack on board as well with the experience, the game day experience. It's helped us significantly. We've wanted to take Stephen on for a few years, but it was trying to really, make it work across the board. And I'm glad we've done that as well. So for me, it's a successful project, but it's successful because people at the club bought into it. Scott Gormall, in particular, bought into it. I mean, I remember when we were launching it, I said, okay, how many are we going to sign up? Right? So it's like, you might get 500, right? I'm telling you, right? Now, I was the highest at 4,800. I think I had. Scott's got the list, right? And we launched that season 6,486 Aberdeen paid members, and we're now over 9,000. So listen, I keep saying it's not my club. It's not. It's our club as fans, and everybody contributes. We're nothing without our fans. But what I want to do is drive through the club, affinity to the club, so that we can build on that and make it an experience for people to come and follow the Dons.
Listen, that last couple of minutes, I just want to finish off, be a bit more reflective. I think I'm right in saying you've been at the club 8 years. You came back 8 years ago, 17th of June. You've been chairman for 6 years now. So just sort of reflect a little bit on that time. Because I think we're right in saying, and when you took over as chairman, it was just after COVID, wasn't it? I think Stuart gave you a hospital pass, didn't he?
Yeah, Stuart, I keep telling him that. It was that, I think it was 19. It was October of 2019, and COVID hit in the February, and hit us for 10 million. And I think a lot of people, maybe COVID was donkeys years ago. It wasn't. So a real challenge to kind of go through that, especially when we'd committed to investing at that time for that next season about 2.5 million more than we expected to bring in. But look, at the end of the day, it's been a journey. There've been some challenges on the football side. But you can either do one or two things. You can say, you can go and mope in the corner and say, poor me, poor me, poor me. But I'm one of those guys I think the cup is half full, and you become determined to learn and to drive. Because the frustrating thing was seeing the club doing so well commercially with a lot of things we're doing, and hopefully, we're on a track now, and it better not be 35 years before we next win the Scottish Cup. But again, it's not about me. I'm just trying to be a catalyst, an ambassador for the club and for the city to be the best that it can be, because and that's, I'm not a pretentious guy. I'm not into all sorts of boats and planes and my last car I've got now is 8 years old, but this drive with the club to help the club, not just with me but with everybody else involved in it, is really become a kind of passion for mine. And of course, I had a triple heart bypass in the midst of that as well, but all's good. I'm told that I've got clean pipes now, so I can still eat. I can still eat the bacon-filled rowies, and so on. So yeah, reflective-wise, so pleased that we brought the cup home for the city and for our fans. It's listen, the satisfaction of being involved in a small way, of being able to try and make that happen is incredible, because Fiona and I are the only one of our family left Aberdeen. All our family, are still there, 30 plus direct family members, and so yeah.
But Dave, when you actually step back, right? I mean, the last couple of years we've had group stage football twice in 3 years, 7 appearances at Hampden in 3 seasons. We now have a cup sitting in the boardroom. So the strategy and plan that you put in place at the start, do you feel it's worked? And also, now we've won the Scottish Cup, does that strategy change at all?
No, well, listen, I think the strategy is clearly commercially, our strategy is doing really well. Listen, if you'll take a look at sponsorship, and our commercial income with next year will almost have tripled from a number of years ago. So we're really pushing hard and executing on the commercial side. The football side, like you say there, we've been to Hampden a whole bunch of times, right? This season will be second group stages, and we've now won, the Scottish Cup. So the strategy doesn't change. What we have to do is ensure, from a business perspective, right, that this extra 3 or 4 million we're spending a year in order to be competitive is balanced out with the player trading model. Because as I said earlier, I want to be a good financial steward with the club. We are taking risk, but it's a risk that myself, Tom, and the other guys have been prepared to take. So this 8 million coming in, 2 to 3 million of that will be there as, let's say, as cushion. But when people think about selling a player, we sell a player like Bojan. What we need to look at is our wage bill from 6-7 years ago is triple, right? And that's not just Aberdeen. That's supply demand in the market and what people are kind of pick, which is why our scouting needs to be excellent so we can unearth and get value from players that we listen. People want to come to Aberdeen now, Mal, because if they know they'll get an opportunity to move on to a bigger club, we won't hold them back within reason. And so, and we've demonstrated that with Bojan, right? As an example, Ross McCrory, others, Lewis, and Topi will be another one if he continues at this level. But there's no way we're letting Topi go just now at this stage, because he's a key player for us.
I think
now watch this. Someone's going to come in and offer us 20 million tomorrow, which we probably have to take.
But you've got others. I thought Matt's is an outstanding person and player. Alexander the same, Ante as well. Really, I thought the final was absolutely brilliant. Listen, just reflecting on your time as chairman, what's the biggest thing you've learned? And explain a wee bit more, but what example is the biggest difference in football, maybe from your business experiences?
Well, the clear difference is that this is absolutely in the public eye, and that the only thing that matters for many people are the results, not what it takes to get there. And so, look, we're not the only club that's gone transition managers in the last few seasons. In fact, Jimmy is probably now, even being here a year, is one of the longer tenured managers, right? But it's been in the public eye. But what it's taught me is it's made me more resilient, I think, as a person. And listen, I've been successful in business, fortunate, because I've listened to people and I take input. At the end of the day, you've got to make decisions. That we've got really good people at this club that in my mind, a number of years ago, just needed lifted up and encouraged to express themselves. I've said, everybody, listen, we all make mistakes, right? But I believed this player trading model, or we believed, was going to be critical for Aberdeen to punch above its weight a number of years ago. And it was really just a case of, to a degree, on the field, if you like, getting the right team in place. And that's not just the manager, that's the infrastructure of people that we've got. And we should probably have had a much wider scouting team 2 to 3 years ago. But look, that's hindsight. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. Yeah, I think we're in a good place. It's going to be really competitive this season, but we'll stay quiet and let others do the talking, and we'll go for it.
Just last question, Dave, on the business side. By the way, there's a really good podcast you did with, is it Jeff Hoppeck? Is that right?
Yeah, Jeff Hoppeck.
I thought it was really fascinating about your background and also some of your business practices. Just on that, I mean, Is there anything you've taken from what you've learned in business into the football club? For example, the way you sort of manage your staff?
Well, yes. I mean, I think that a whole bunch of principles I've taken on board there. First of all, you can't build a good company or a football club unless you've got good people. You can hire and retain good people. That's at the core. And it's tough, especially when your standards are. My standards are really high. And, I get down on myself as well when things kind of don't happen. But that's a key there. And what I would tell you is that you have to have people, right? That you must have people on board that are with the plan, agree with the strategy. And they don't just talk about it, they live it. So I've said in a number of companies that we've acquired on the software side over time, I say to people, listen, congratulations, you're now part of this business. The train's leaving on Monday morning, right? If you want to be on it, we'll welcome it and we'll invest in you and you can be the best that you can be. But this is what we're about. And are you on board? And sometimes that's not the case. So I think what I've learned is that you have to have a clear vision, a clear strategy, and outcomes, right? At the end of the day, outcomes are critical, and winning a cup obviously is something we'd aspire to do every season. We should aspire to try and win a cup or do well, be in Europe every season. Will it happen every season? Maybe not. But you have to set your stall and your standards there. But for me, it's about having really good people round about you that, in my case, I find are better than me in the functional areas that they are in. One of the reasons we got Dave Laurie on board as a non-exec director, with his experience at Northland and Right to Dream Academy and being involved in buying the San Diego franchise and MLS, Dave has got tremendous experience. Northland last summer sold 40 million euros of players, Danish team, right? Dave was chief operating officer there for 10 years. So what he has learned there and the contacts he's got are highly valuable to Aberdeen Football Club. And he's an Aberdonian and an Aberdeen fan as well. So for me, it's about making sure as a board and as a club, we've got the right people.
Dave, just finally, a lot of chairmen after they've won a cup might sit back and enjoy the moment, but I can assure viewers that's not you. Very much the opposite. I've seen in recent weeks you're very keen to build on what the club, on this Scottish Cup success, aren't you? So just, what the aims for the new season and over the next couple of seasons, and maybe what the challenge is going to be over the next couple of seasons.
Well, look, Alan is running the club day by day, and I'm really there to support Alan. Alan and I get on well. It's just as well we've got a good sense of humour. We can poke fun at each other because it keeps you sane. And so I'm really there just to support the initiative the clubs have. But what we do is what we set out. We've set out growth factors commercially for the club every year over the next 3 years. We had a board meeting this week where Alan and the guys presented a 3-year plan. 8 years ago, our dream was to get 20 million of turnover, right? Well, we're past that now, particularly with the player trading side as well. We're past that. We've got to build on that, right? We've got to build. So, for example, with the fans of the future, so we're great at acquiring younger kids. So under 12s, at the end of the season, 2,000 of them, 12,000 kids, become teenagers. So they move off. We've got to convert them into being teenage season ticket holders, right? We've then got to replenish to bring in the next group of kids to get back up to 12,000, right? So, but we're really good at acquiring or getting kids to be part of Aberdeen A Junior. What we have to do is get them to be more active with what we offer coming to games. 3 years ago, maybe 15% of that free ticket, the 2 or 3 tickets a year with the kids, was being used. I think that's now 40%. So it's really breaking down these insights and outcomes and measuring those. And what do we need to do to drive it further? We are known as a great club for the use of technology and tools to drive growth. And we've set about a 3-year plan now with a partner company who is going to help us develop a mobile app, fully functional mobile app that we believe will help us grow the club by having fans having a better experience and a single log-on experience where they can buy shirts, they can do this, they can do that. Now, this sounds like minutia, but all of these things are important, Mal, for us to be able to achieve our goals. The challenges we're going to have is with these kind of multi-club environments, I think, is going to be how far they go and what they can bring, to the table for other clubs. I mean, Rangers is one now as well, but I feel good about where we're at, and not as a club standing alone. And it's still a club that is chaired and driven by Aberdonians. As much as I've been gone for a long time, I'm still an Aberdonian. I still call it home. I don't call the States home, right? So, yeah, we have a clear view on the next 3 years, being in Europe each year, and trying to punch above our weight in the league, and trying to win cups on a more regular basis. But so listen, I'm still up for the cup, as they say. But look, finally for me, I'm so thankful to everybody at the club, guys like yourself and everyone there that have been prepared to buy into or listen to what we've been trying to do in the last years, because it's not been easy. It's not been easy on the football side.
Well, Dave, you said you wanted to put a smile on the faces of the people in the North East. You've certainly done that. And are you still enjoying it?
Yeah. Listen, look, I said that if we'd lost that cup final, we would have dusted ourselves down and then got back to getting ready for this season and going for again with the same drive that we've got. But this should be a catalyst for the city, for what the club can do as being an anchor tenant with a community stadium, and for our supporters, because we love Europe. We love a European adventure. I remember being over in, by the way, we just got a lovely letter from all the board at Eintracht Frankfurt. They remain friends of ours. And a letter came in today, and Axel, who's the CEO of the club, he's a big Scotch whiskey lover. And when we played Eintracht Frankfurt at Pittodrie, that last game, he was taking 3 days off to go up into the Highlands on a whiskey tour. Somebody was driving him, I have to say. But we gave them, you do gifts, right? They treated us really well in Frankfurt. We gave them a 5-litre bottle of Chivas Regal to take back to Germany with them. And they just told us today, congratulated us on winning the cup, first time in 35 years. And they believe now is the time for them to open it to celebrate us winning the cup. And so, you meet some really good people in football as well. We made some good friends, as you know, Mal, and that was so nice of the Frankfurt people.
Well, Dave, one thing we know in football, the European adventures to come, and as you say, new friends to meet. There'll be plenty more highs and I'm sure lows as well, but whatever happens, the club's in very safe hands. Just thank you to you and all your family for what you've done for the club and the city, and for bringing the Scottish Cup back as well. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mal. Appreciate it.